Have you ever felt like a character in your own life story? Like the events unfolding around you follow a pattern you've seen before, whether in books, movies, or myths? It's almost as if there's a script guiding your journey, complete, with challenges to overcome, mentors to guide you, and moments of triumph that feel larger than life. If this resonates with you, it's because stories aren't just entertainment. They're reflections of something much deeper. They tap into universal truths about what it means to be human, and at the heart of these truths lies the concept of archetypes. Let me explain. Think about the last movie or book that truly moved you. Maybe it was the tale of a reluctant hero stepping up to save the day, a wise mentor offering guidance in a moment of doubt, or a shadowy villain embodying fears we'd rather ignore. These characters feel familiar, don't they? That's because they're not random creations. They're expressions of archetypes, timeless patterns embedded in the human psyche. Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, introduced the idea of archetypes as part of his groundbreaking work on the collective unconscious. He believed that beneath the surface of our individual experiences lies a shared reservoir of symbols, themes, and narratives that connect all of humanity. These archetypes shape how we perceive the world, interpret our lives, and relate to others. They're the invisible threads weaving through every culture, myth, and story, guiding us toward understanding ourselves and our place in the grand tapestry of existence. Now, you might be wondering, why does this matter? How do archetypes affect my everyday life? The answer is simple, yet profound. Archetypes influence everything from the roles we play in relationships to the goals we pursue and the challenges we face. For example, when you take on a leadership role, you're embodying the hero archetype, stepping up to confront obstacles and inspire others. When you nurture a loved one through hardship, you're channeling the caregiver. And when you question authority or disrupt the status quo, you're tapping into the energy of the trickster. But here's the catch. While archetypes can empower us, they can also limit us if we're unaware of their influence. For instance, someone overly identified with the warrior archetype might struggle with vulnerability, seeing emotions as weaknesses rather than strengths. Someone stuck in the victim archetype might feel powerless to change their circumstances, even when opportunities for growth arise. Understanding archetypes allows us to recognize these patterns, embrace their gifts, and avoid their pitfalls. So, why explore archetypes now? In a world that often feels fragmented and chaotic, archetypes offer a sense of order and meaning. They remind us that we're not alone, that the struggles and triumphs we experience are part of a larger human story. Whether you're navigating personal challenges, seeking deeper connections, or striving for self-discovery, archetypes provide a framework for understanding your journey and unlocking your potential. Over the next 50 minutes, we'll delve into the most powerful archetypes shaping the human experience. We'll explore their origins, their roles in your life, and how you can harness their wisdom to create a more authentic, fulfilling existence. From the hero who rises to meet challenges, to the shadow that holds our deepest fears, to the magician who transforms reality, we'll uncover the universal symbols that guide us all. As we begin this exploration, I want you to ask yourself one question. Which archetypes am I living out right now, and how are they shaping my story? Hold onto that thought, because by the end of this journey, you'll have the tools to rewrite your narrative, step into your power, and embrace the full spectrum of who you are. So, what exactly are archetypes, and why do they hold such profound significance in understanding the human experience? At their core, archetypes are universal patterns and images that reside in the collective unconscious, a term Carl Jung used to describe the shared reservoir of memories, symbols, and instincts common to all humanity. These archetypes act as blueprints, shaping how we perceive the world, interpret our lives, and relate to others. To put it simply, Think of archetypes as templates or lenses through which we view reality. They're not specific to any one culture or individual. They transcend time and geography, appearing in myths, religions, art, and stories across civilizations. For example, the archetype of the hero shows up in ancient epics like Gilgamesh, religious texts like the story of Moses, and modern tales like Harry Potter or Katniss Everdeen in The Hunger Games. Despite differences in setting and context, the essence of the hero remains the same: someone who rises to meet challenges, overcomes adversity, and transforms themselves and their world in the process. Imagine walking into a library filled with books from every era and culture. While the characters, settings, and plots may vary, certain themes repeat themselves over and over again. There's always a wise mentor guiding the protagonist, the sage, a shadowy figure representing fear or temptation, the shadow, and a moment of transformation that changes everything, the magician. These recurring motifs aren't coincidences. They're expressions of archetypes, timeless patterns that resonate deeply within us because they reflect fundamental aspects of the human condition. Now, let's break this down further. Archetypes aren't just abstract concepts. They manifest in our thoughts, behaviors, and relationships. For instance, when you feel driven to protect someone you love, you're embodying the caregiver archetype. When you question authority or challenge societal norms, you're channeling the rebellious energy of the trickster. And when you confront your fears or insecurities, you're engaging with the shadow. Each archetype carries its own set of strengths, weaknesses, and lessons, offering insights into different facets of your personality and life path. Here's an analogy to help you understand this better. Think of archetypes as roles in a play. In one scene, you might step into the role of the hero, bravely facing a challenge. In another, you might take on the role of the lover, seeking connection and intimacy. The key is recognizing that no single role defines you completely. You shift between archetypes depending on the situation and stage of your life. By becoming aware of these shifts, you gain greater control over how you navigate your journey. It's also important to note that archetypes aren't inherently good or bad. Each one has both positive and negative expressions. For example, the warrior archetype can inspire courage and resilience, but may also lead to aggression or rigidity if taken to extremes. Similarly, the explorer archetype fosters curiosity and independence, but can result in restlessness or a fear of commitment if left unchecked. Understanding these dualities helps you harness the gifts of each archetype while avoiding their potential pitfalls. So, how do archetypes influence your daily life? They shape the roles you play, the decisions you make, and the stories you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of achieving. By identifying which archetypes are active in your life, you can align your actions with your deeper purpose and values. As we continue exploring Jungian archetypes, keep this in mind. These universal symbols are more than just psychological tools. They're gateways to self-discovery and growth. The question is, which archetypes are guiding you right now, and how can you use them to create a richer, more meaningful life? One of the most powerful and widely recognized archetypes is the hero. Whether you're aware of it or not, the hero's journey is a story you've encountered countless times, and one you've likely lived by yourself. It's the tale of an ordinary individual who rises to meet extraordinary challenges, undergoes transformation, and emerges stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled. This archetype isn't just a literary device. It's a universal blueprint for personal growth and self-discovery. Let's break this down. What exactly is the hero's journey? Popularized by mythologist Joseph Campbell, the hero's journey is a narrative structure found in myths, legends, and stories across cultures. It follows a familiar pattern. The hero begins in their ordinary world, receives a call to adventure, faces trials and tribulations, receives guidance from mentors, confronts their greatest fears, and ultimately returns home transformed. Think of Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, Frodo in The Lord of the Rings, or even real-life figures like Malala Yousafzai or Nelson Mandela. Their stories resonate because they mirror our own struggles and triumphs. Now, let's connect this to Jungian psychology. Carl Jung believed that the hero archetype represents the part of us that seeks to overcome obstacles, achieve greatness, and fulfill our potential. It embodies courage, resilience, and the willingness to step into the unknown. But here's the key insight. The hero's journey isn't just about external achievements, it's also about inner transformation. Every challenge we face is an opportunity to grow, to shed old limitations, and to become more fully ourselves. Here's how it often plays out in real life. Imagine someone stuck in a dead-end job, feeling unfulfilled and disconnected from their purpose. One day, they receive a call to adventure, perhaps a chance to pursue a passion, start a business, or make a significant life change. At first, fear and doubt creep in. They might hesitate, wondering if they're capable or worthy of taking the leap. But then, a mentor appears, a friend, teacher, or role model who offers guidance and encouragement. With newfound determination, they step into the unknown, facing setbacks and learning hard lessons along the way. Eventually, they emerge transformed, not just externally, but internally. They've discovered strengths they didn't know they had, and gained a deeper understanding of who they are. Let me share an example. Consider the story of J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. Before becoming one of the most successful writers in history, Rowling faced immense adversity. She was a single mother living on welfare, struggling to make ends meet while battling depression and self-doubt. Yet she heeded her call to adventure, pouring her heart into writing despite countless rejections. Her journey wasn't easy. She faced rejection after rejection, but she persisted, drawing strength from her inner hero. When her books finally found success, she didn't just achieve fame and fortune, she transformed her life and inspired millions around the world. So, how can you apply the hero's journey to your own life? Start by identifying moments where you've already embodied this archetype. Ask yourself, what challenges have I faced? What did I learn from them? How did they change me? Recognizing these patterns helps you see your life as a story, one filled with purpose, meaning, and growth. Another practical step is embracing the stages of the hero's journey. In your current situation, are you at the call to adventure stage, feeling drawn towards something new but unsure if you're ready? Or are you in the midst of trials, grappling with obstacles that test your resolve? Whatever stage you're in, trust that it's part of the process. Each step brings you closer to transformation. Finally, remember this. The hero's journey isn't reserved for extraordinary individuals. It's available to everyone. You don't need superhuman strength or magical powers to be a hero. All you need is the courage to take the first step, the resilience to keep going when things get tough, and the openness to learn from every experience. As we continue exploring Jungian archetypes, keep this in mind. The hero archetype reminds us that growth requires action. It calls us to leave behind what's comfortable, confront our fears, and embrace the unknown. The question is, will you answer the call? So I leave you with this reflection. Where am I being called to grow right now? What fears or doubts am I ready to face in order to step into my power? Trust that every challenge you encounter is shaping you into the hero of your own story. One of the most intriguing and often unsettling archetypes is the shadow. While other archetypes like the hero or the caregiver might feel empowering or familiar, the shadow represents the parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore, our fears, insecurities, desires, and flaws. Yet, according to Carl Jung, confronting the shadow is essential for personal growth and wholeness. Without integrating this archetype, we remain fragmented, projecting our unresolved issues onto others and sabotaging our own potential. Let's break this down. What exactly is the shadow? Think of it as a hidden room in the house of your psyche, a place where you've stored everything you deem unacceptable or unworthy. These are the traits, emotions, and impulses you've suppressed because they conflict with your self-image or societal expectations. Maybe it's anger you've buried because you were told it's unbecoming. Maybe it's jealousy you've denied because it feels petty or shameful. Or maybe it's vulnerability you've avoided because it makes you feel exposed or weak. Whatever it is, the shadow doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It lingers beneath the surface, influencing your thoughts, behaviors, and relationships in ways you might not even realize. Here's how it often plays out. When you deny certain aspects of yourself, they don't vanish. They find indirect ways to express themselves. For example, someone who suppresses their anger might become passive-aggressive. Someone who hides their insecurity might overcompensate by seeking constant validation. And someone who avoids vulnerability might struggle to form deep, authentic connections. The shadow doesn't go away. It simply manifests in destructive or counterproductive ways. Now, let's talk about why confronting the shadow is so important. At first glance, it might seem easier to avoid it, to keep those uncomfortable feelings locked away where they can't bother us. But Jung believed that true wholeness comes from embracing all parts of yourself, even the ones that feel dark or unfamiliar. By acknowledging and integrating your shadow, you reclaim lost pieces of yourself, freeing yourself from inner conflict and projection. Here's an analogy to help you understand this better. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with rocks. Each rock represents a part of your shadow, something you've been carrying around but refusing to look at. Over time, the weight becomes exhausting. But instead of setting the backpack down and examining its contents, you keep lugging it along, telling yourself it's too painful to open. Shadow work is the act of unpacking that backpack, one rock at a time, until you're free of its burden. Let me share an example. Consider the life of Nelson Mandela. During his 27 years in prison, Mandela faced immense hardship and isolation. Yet, instead of succumbing to bitterness or despair, he used this time to reflect deeply on his identity, values, and purpose. He confronted his own flaws and fears, emerging not just as a political leader, but as a symbol of unity and reconciliation. His journey exemplifies shadow integration, the process of transforming pain and adversity into wisdom and strength. So, how do you begin working with your shadow? Start by noticing what triggers you. Pay attention to moments when you feel intense emotions like anger, shame, or envy. Ask yourself, why does this bother me so much? What is it reflecting about me? Often, our reactions to others reveal hidden aspects of ourselves. For example, if someone's arrogance irritates you, it might be because you've suppressed your own pride or ambition. Another powerful tool is journaling. Set aside time to write freely about the parts of yourself you dislike or fear. Be honest. No one else needs to see this. The goal isn't to judge yourself, but to bring these hidden elements into awareness. Once you've identified them, practice acceptance. Remind yourself that everyone has a shadow. It's part of being human. The key is how you choose to engage with it. Finally, remember this. Shadow work isn't about eradicating negative traits. It's about transforming them. Anger can become assertiveness. Jealousy can fuel healthy competition. Vulnerability can deepen intimacy. By integrating your shadow, you turn liabilities into strengths, unlocking new dimensions of yourself. As we continue exploring Jungian archetypes, keep this in mind. The shadow isn't your enemy. It's a misunderstood ally. It holds the keys to your authenticity and wholeness. The question is, will you take the first step toward embracing it? So, I leave you with this reflection. What traits or emotions am I afraid to confront, and what might they teach me? Trust that every part of you has value, even the ones that feel uncomfortable or unfamiliar, because true growth begins when you stop running from yourself. One of Carl Jung's most fascinating contributions to psychology is the concept of the anima and animus, the feminine and masculine energies that exist within each of us, regardless of gender. These archetypes represent complementary forces that shape our personalities, relationships, and sense of wholeness. By understanding and integrating these polarities, we can overcome inner conflict, deepen our connections with others, and live more authentically. Let's break this down. What exactly are the anima and animus? According to Jung, every individual possesses both masculine and feminine qualities. The anima refers to the unconscious feminine side present in men, while the animus represents the unconscious masculine side present in women. These aren't tied to biological sex, but rather to psychological traits traditionally associated with masculinity and femininity. For example, masculine energy often embodies qualities like logic, assertiveness, independence, and action. Feminine energy, on the other hand, is typically associated with intuition, empathy, nurturing, and receptivity. While society often encourages us to prioritize one over the other, men being told to suppress vulnerability, women being pressured to downplay strength, Jung believed that true wholeness comes from embracing both. Here's why this matters. When we neglect or deny one side of ourselves, we create inner conflict. A man who suppresses his anima might struggle to express emotions, form deep connections, or trust his intuition. A woman who represses her animus might doubt her ability to lead, make decisions, or assert boundaries. Over time, this imbalance leads to dissatisfaction, alienation, and a fragmented sense of self. Now, let's talk about how the anima and animus show up in our lives. These archetypes influence not only how we relate to ourselves, but also how we interact with others. For instance, someone with an underdeveloped anima might idealize or project unrealistic expectations onto romantic partners, seeking in them what they've failed to cultivate within themselves. Similarly, someone with a neglected animus might struggle to take initiative or stand up for their needs, relying excessively on external validation. Here's an analogy to help you understand this better. Imagine a seesaw with two sides, one representing masculine energy and the other feminine. If one side is weighted too heavily, the seesaw becomes unstable, tipping dangerously in one direction. But when both sides are balanced, the seesaw finds equilibrium, a dynamic harmony that allows movement and flow. The same principle applies to your psyche. Integrating the anima and animus creates balance, enabling you to navigate life with greater flexibility and resilience. Let me share an example. Consider the life of Frida Kahlo, the renowned Mexican artist. Kahlo's work is celebrated for its raw emotional depth and unflinching exploration of identity, pain, and love. Her paintings reflect a powerful integration of masculine and feminine energies, bold, assertive strokes paired with deeply intuitive, empathetic themes. By embracing both sides of herself, Kahlo transcended societal limitations and forged a legacy of authenticity and strength. So, how do you begin working with your anima and animus? Start by reflecting on which qualities feel underdeveloped in your life. Ask yourself, do I struggle to express vulnerability or assertiveness? Am I overly analytical or overly emotional? Journaling can be a helpful tool here. Write about moments when you felt out of sync, times when you wished you could act differently or respond with more balance. Another practical strategy is observing your relationships. Often the people we're drawn to or clash with mirror aspects of our own anima or animus. For example, if you admire someone's confidence and decisiveness, it might indicate a need to develop your own animus. If you're captivated by someone's compassion and creativity, it could signal a call to nurture your anima. By recognizing these reflections, you gain insight into areas for growth. Finally, remember this: balancing the anima and animus isn't about conforming to stereotypes. It's about honoring your full spectrum of humanity. It's about allowing yourself to be both strong and soft, logical and intuitive, independent and interdependent. This integration doesn't happen overnight. It's a lifelong process of self-discovery and acceptance. As we continue exploring Jungian archetypes, keep this in mind. The anima and animus are bridges between opposites. They remind us that wholeness isn't about choosing one side, it's about embracing both. The question is, which aspects of your inner polarity are calling for attention, and how can you bring them into harmony? So, I leave you with this reflection. Which qualities within me feel neglected or suppressed? How can I honor and integrate them to live more authentically? Trust that every part of you has value, even the ones that feel unfamiliar or challenging. Because true growth begins when you stop dividing yourself and start uniting your inner world. One of the most universally recognized archetypes is the caregiver. This archetype embodies compassion, empathy, and a deep desire to nurture and support others. Whether it's a parent caring for their child, a friend offering a listening ear, or a teacher guiding students, the caregiver plays an essential role in fostering connection and healing in our lives. Yet, while the caregiver archetype is often associated with selflessness and service, it also carries important lessons about balance, reminding us that nurturing others must go hand in hand with nurturing ourselves. Let's break this down. What exactly is the caregiver archetype? At its core, it represents the part of us that seeks to protect, heal, and uplift those around us. It's driven by love, kindness, and a sense of responsibility for the well-being of others. Think of characters like Mother Teresa, Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird, or even everyday heroes like nurses, counselors, and volunteers. These individuals embody the caregiver's essence, putting others' needs ahead of their own and finding fulfillment in making a difference. Now, let's talk about why the caregiver archetype matters. In a world that often feels fragmented and disconnected, the caregiver reminds us of the power of compassion and community. Acts of care, whether big or small, create ripples of positivity, strengthening relationships and fostering a sense of belonging. When we embrace the caregiver within us, we contribute to a culture of empathy and mutual support, helping to bridge divides and heal wounds. But here's the catch. The caregiver archetype has a shadow side. When taken to extremes, it can lead to burnout, codependency, or neglecting one's own needs. For example, someone who identifies too strongly with the caregiver might prioritize others to the point of exhaustion, losing sight of their own boundaries and well-being. They might struggle to say no, fear being perceived as selfish, or feel guilty when they take time for themselves. Over time, this imbalance can result in resentment, fatigue, and even physical or emotional breakdowns. Here's an analogy to help you understand this better. Imagine a candle burning brightly, illuminating the room and warming everyone nearby. But if the candle burns too long without being replenished, it eventually flickers out. The same is true for caregivers. To sustain your ability to nurture others, you must first nurture yourself. Self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. Let me share an example. Consider the story of Maya Angelou, the celebrated poet and civil rights activist. Throughout her life, Angelou used her voice and talents not only to inspire others, but also to advocate for justice and equality. Yet, she also understood the importance of self-care. In interviews, she often spoke about the rituals that sustained her, writing, prayer, and spending time in nature. By honoring her own needs, she ensured she had the energy and resilience to continue giving to others. So, How do you embody the caregiver archetype in a healthy, balanced way? Start by setting clear boundaries. Ask yourself, am I giving out of love or out of obligation? Am I taking care of myself as well as I'm taking care of others? Practicing assertiveness and learning to say no when necessary are crucial skills for maintaining equilibrium. Another practical step is practicing gratitude for both what you receive and what you give. Often, caregivers focus so much on others that they overlook the impact of their own contributions. Take time to acknowledge the ways you enrich the lives of those around you and allow yourself to feel proud of your efforts. Similarly, recognize the people who support you and express your appreciation for their care. Finally, remember this: the caregiver archetype isn't just about nurturing others, it's also about nurturing yourself. Acts of self-compassion, rest and reflection replenish your inner resources, enabling you to show up fully for the people and causes you care about. Whether it's taking a quiet moment to meditate, engaging in a hobby you love, or simply saying thank you to yourself for all you do, these practices honor the caregiver within you. As we continue exploring Jungian archetypes, keep this in mind: the caregiver teaches us that love flows in two directions, outward toward others and inward toward ourselves. The question is, how can you strike a balance between the two? So I leave you with this challenge. Identify one way you can practice self-care today, no matter how small. Maybe it's taking a walk in nature, writing in a journal, or simply pausing to breathe deeply. Trust that by nurturing yourself, you're not only honoring your own humanity, you're also becoming a better caregiver to those around you. One of the most dynamic and transformative archetypes is the magician. This archetype represents the power to create, innovate, and transform reality, both within ourselves and in the world around us. The magician embodies vision, intention, and the ability to turn ideas into action. It reminds us that we are not passive observers of life. We are active participants with the potential to shape our destinies. Let's break this down. What exactly is the magician archetype? At its core, it symbolizes mastery over transformation. Think of figures like Merlin from Arthurian legend, Gandalf from The Lord of the Rings, or real-life innovators like Nikola Tesla and Steve Jobs. These individuals embody the magician's essence, the ability to see possibilities where others see limitations, to harness knowledge and creativity, and to manifest change through focused effort. Now, let's talk about why the magician archetype matters. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, the magician reminds us of our agency, the power to influence outcomes and rewrite our stories. Whether it's transforming personal challenges into opportunities for growth, envisioning a better future, or solving complex problems, the magician teaches us that reality is malleable. We have the tools to reshape it, but only if we believe in our capacity to do so. Here's how it often plays out. Imagine someone facing a major life transition, a career change, a health challenge, or the end of a relationship. At first, they might feel overwhelmed, stuck in a narrative of loss or uncertainty, but then the magician archetype emerges. They begin to ask themselves, what can I learn from this experience? How can I use this moment to create something new? With vision and determination, they tap into their inner resources, turning adversity into opportunity. Let me share an example. Consider the story of Thomas Edison, one of history's greatest inventors. Despite failing thousands of times in his quest to create the light bulb, Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found $10,000 ways that won't work." His persistence and belief in the possibility of success exemplify the magician archetype. He didn't just invent a device, he transformed the way humanity experiences light and darkness. His story reminds us that the magician isn't about perfection, it's about experimentation, resilience, and the courage to keep trying. So, how? Do you access the power of the magician archetype in your own life? Start by setting clear intentions. Ask yourself, what do I want to create or transform? What steps can I take to bring my vision to life? Visualization is a powerful tool here. Close your eyes and imagine your desired outcome in vivid detail. Feel the emotions associated with achieving it. This practice aligns your subconscious mind with your goals, making it easier to take inspired action. Another practical step is embracing curiosity and lifelong learning. The magician thrives on knowledge and innovation, so seek out opportunities to expand your skills and perspectives. Read books, attend workshops, or engage in conversations with people who inspire you. Remember, the magician doesn't rely solely on existing systems. It questions them, experiments with them, and creates something entirely new. Finally, remember this. The magician archetype isn't just about grand transformations. It's also about small, everyday acts of creation. Cooking, a meal, planting a garden, or even organizing your space can be expressions of the magician's energy. Each time you bring order to chaos or breathe life into an idea, you're tapping into this archetype's power. As we continue exploring Jungian archetypes, keep this in mind. The magician reminds us that reality is not fixed. It's fluid, shaped by our thoughts, beliefs, and actions. The question is, what will you choose to create? So, I leave you with this reflection. What areas of my life am I ready to transform? What visions or dreams am I willing to bring into reality? Trust that you already possess the tools you need. All it takes is clarity, focus, and the willingness to step into your creative power. One of the most adventurous and freedom-loving archetypes is the explorer. This archetype embodies curiosity, independence, and a relentless drive to discover what lies beyond the horizon. Whether it's embarking on physical journeys to uncharted lands or diving into the depths of self-discovery, the explorer reminds us that life is a quest, a continuous search for meaning, growth, and expansion. Let's break this down. What exactly is the explorer archetype? At its core, it represents the part of us that craves novelty, challenges, and experiences that push us out of our comfort zones. Think of iconic figures like Christopher Columbus, Amelia Earhart, or modern-day adventurers like Elon Musk. These individuals embody the explorer's essence, a bold willingness to venture into the unknown, fueled by a hunger for discovery and innovation. Now, let's talk about why the explorer archetype matters. In a world that often encourages conformity and routine, the explorer reminds us of the importance of staying curious and open to change. It challenges us to question the status quo, embrace uncertainty, and seek out new perspectives. Without the explorer, we risk stagnation, settling into patterns that no longer serve us, and missing opportunities for growth. Here's how it often plays out. Imagine someone stuck in a monotonous job, feeling restless and uninspired. One day, they decide to take a leap of faith, whether it's traveling to a foreign country, starting a passion project, or simply exploring a new hobby. That spark of curiosity ignites something within them, awakening a sense of wonder and possibility. They realize that life isn't about staying safe. It's about stepping into the unknown and discovering who they are along the way. Let me share an example. Consider the story of Cheryl Strayed, author of Wild from Lost to Found on the Pacific Crest Trail. After experiencing profound personal loss and hitting rock bottom, Strayed embarked on a solo hike across over 1,000 miles of rugged terrain. Her journey wasn't just physical, it was deeply emotional and spiritual. By embracing the explorer archetype, she confronted her fears, rediscovered her strength, and found a renewed sense of purpose. Her story reminds us that exploration isn't always about external adventures. Sometimes, the greatest discoveries happen within. So, how do you embody the explorer archetype in your own life? Start by identifying areas where you feel stagnant or unfulfilled. Ask yourself, what am I curious about? What would excite me if I allowed myself to pursue it? Whether it's learning a new skill, visiting a place you've never been, or trying something completely outside your comfort zone, the key is taking action, even if it's small at first. Another practical step is cultivating adaptability. The explorer thrives on flexibility and resilience, so practice embracing change rather than resisting it. When faced with obstacles, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to grow? This mindset shift transforms challenges into opportunities for discovery. Finally, remember this: the explorer archetype isn't just about grand adventures, it's also about everyday exploration. You don't need to climb a mountain or travel the world to tap into this energy. Sometimes it's as simple as trying a new recipe, reading a book outside your usual genre, or striking up a conversation with someone different from you. Each act of curiosity expands your horizons and enriches your life. As we continue exploring Jungian archetypes, keep this in mind. The explorer teaches us that life is a journey, not a destination. It invites us to stay curious, embrace uncertainty, and trust that every step forward reveals something new about ourselves and the world. The question is, where will you go next? So I leave you with this challenge. Identify one area of your life where you're ready to explore. Maybe it's a dream you've put on hold, a fear you've been avoiding, or a question you've been too afraid to ask. Take one small step today toward uncovering what lies beyond. Trust that the path of the explorer is filled with surprises, and that each discovery brings you closer to your true self. One of the most fascinating aspects of Jungian archetypes is how they play out in our relationships. Whether it's with family, friends, romantic partners, or colleagues, archetypes influence the roles we take on, the dynamics we create, and the ways we connect or disconnect with others. By understanding these patterns, we can deepen our relationships, resolve conflicts, and foster healthier, more authentic connections. Let's break this down. What exactly do we mean by archetypes in relationships? At their core, archetypes shape the unconscious scripts we bring into our interactions. For example, someone embodying the caregiver archetype might naturally take on a nurturing role, while someone channeling the warrior might focus on asserting boundaries or defending their values. These roles aren't inherently good or bad, they're simply expressions of the archetypal energies within us. However, when these energies become imbalanced or clash with those of others, they can create tension and misunderstanding. Now, let's talk about why this matters. Relationships are one of the most powerful mirrors for our inner world. They reflect not only who we are, but also the archetypes we're currently living out. For instance, if you often find yourself playing the rescuer in your relationships, always stepping in to save others, you might be projecting an unacknowledged need for control or validation. Similarly, if you frequently feel like the victim, you might be avoiding responsibility or struggling to assert your own needs. Recognizing these patterns allows you to step back, gain perspective, and make conscious choices about how you show up in your relationships. Here's an analogy to help you understand this better. Imagine a dance floor where each person moves to their own rhythm. Some people lead, others follow, and some switch between the two. Archetypes are like the music guiding these movements. They set the tone and tempo for how we relate to others. When everyone is in sync, the dance flows beautifully. But when there's a mismatch, say, one person trying to lead while the other refuses to follow, the result is discord. The key is learning to harmonize your archetypal energy with that of others. Let me share an example. Consider the dynamic between a couple where one partner embodies the hero archetype and the other resonates with the shadow. The hero might constantly strive to fix problems or protect their partner, while the shadow might resist being saved, feeling misunderstood or controlled in the process. This clash can lead to frustration unless both individuals recognize and honor each other's perspectives. By integrating their respective archetypes, balancing action with introspection, they can create a more balanced and supportive partnership. So, how do you apply archetypal awareness to your relationships? Start by observing the roles you tend to play. Ask yourself, am I usually the caregiver, the leader, the rebel, or the peacemaker? How do these roles affect my interactions? Journaling about specific moments in your relationships can help you identify recurring patterns. Another practical step is reflecting on the archetypes present in your loved ones. Often, the people we're drawn to or clash with mirror aspects of ourselves. For example, if you admire someone's confidence and decisiveness, it might indicate a need to develop your own warrior energy. If you're captivated by someone's creativity and spontaneity, it could signal a call to embrace your explorer. By recognizing these reflections, you gain insight into areas for personal growth. Finally, remember this: healthy relationships require balance and mutual respect for each other's archetypal energies. It's okay to have different roles, as long as they complement rather than compete with one another. For instance, a relationship between a dreamer and a realist can thrive if both parties value and appreciate their differences. The dreamer brings vision and inspiration, while the realist provides grounding and practicality. Together they form a dynamic duo capable of achieving great things. As we continue exploring Jungian archetypes, keep this in mind. Relationships are laboratories for self-discovery. They challenge us to confront our shadows, integrate our strengths, and grow into more whole versions of ourselves. The question is, which archetypes dominate your relationships, and how can you use them to foster deeper connection? So, I leave you with this reflection. What archetypal roles do I play in my closest relationships? Are they serving me and the people I care about, or holding me back? Trust that every interaction is an opportunity to learn, evolve, and strengthen the bonds that matter most. We've reached the end of our exploration into Jungian archetypes, but this isn't truly an ending. It's a beginning, a moment to take everything we've uncovered and apply it to your life. Because understanding archetypes is only the first step. The real transformation happens when you use them to navigate your journey toward wholeness, authenticity, and purpose. Let's recap what we've covered so far. We started by defining archetypes as universal patterns in the collective unconscious, timeless symbols that shape how we perceive ourselves and the world. We explored the hero, who rises to meet challenges and transforms through adversity. We confronted the shadow, embracing the hidden parts of ourselves that hold both fears and untapped potential. We balanced the anima and animus, integrating masculine and feminine energies to create harmony within. We also celebrated the caregiver by reminding us of the importance of nurturing others while honoring our own needs. We tapped into the magician, harnessing creativity and intention to transform reality. We embraced the explorer, stepping boldly into the unknown to discover new horizons. And we examined how archetypes influence our relationships, helping us understand dynamics and deepen connections. Together, these archetypes form a rich tapestry, a map for navigating the complexities of the human experience. But here's the most important takeaway. Archetypes are not static roles or labels. They're fluid energies that evolve with us. At different stages of your life, you'll embody different archetypes, sometimes shifting between them in a single day. The key is awareness. By recognizing which archetypes are active in your life, you can align your actions with your deeper purpose and values. Now, let's talk about why this matters. In a fragmented, fast-paced world, archetypes offer a sense of continuity and meaning. They remind us that we're part of something larger than ourselves, a shared human story that transcends time and culture. Whether you're facing personal struggles, seeking deeper connections, or striving for self-discovery, archetypes provide a framework for understanding your journey and unlocking your potential. Here's an analogy to help you understand this better. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast forest. Each tree represents an archetype, a unique pattern of thought, behavior, and emotion. Some trees are towering and strong, like the hero or the magician. Others are subtle and mysterious, like the shadow or the explorer. As you walk through the forest, you encounter different trees, each offering its own gifts and lessons. Over time, you learn to navigate this landscape with confidence, drawing strength from the trees that resonate most deeply with you. Let me leave you with a story, a metaphor for the journey ahead. Imagine a river flowing steadily toward the sea, ocean. Along its path, it encounters rocks, bends, and obstacles. Sometimes it rushes forward with urgency, other times it slows to a gentle trickle. Yet, no matter the challenges, the river persists, carving its way through the landscape until it reaches its destination. This is your archetypal journey. The river represents your life, the twists and turns, the moments of stillness and motion, the constant flow toward growth and fulfillment. So, how do you continue embracing your archetypal journey? Start by reflecting on the archetypes that feel most alive in your life right now. Ask yourself, which ones are guiding me? Which ones need more attention or integration? Journaling, meditation, and conversations with trusted friends or mentors can help you gain clarity. Another practical step is setting intentions based on your insights. For example, if you recognize the need to embrace your inner explorer, commit to trying one new thing each week. If you want to honor your caregiver side, make time to nurture yourself and others in meaningful ways. Small, consistent actions compound over time, creating profound shifts in who you are and how you experience life. Finally, remember this: your archetypal journey is uniquely yours. No one else will live the exact same story, face the same challenges, or discover the same treasures. But every step you take brings you closer to authenticity and wholeness. Trust the process. Trust yourself. As we close, I want to remind you of something powerful. You are the author of your story. The choices you make, the actions you take, and the mindset you cultivate shape the course of your life. Archetypes are tools. They guide and inspire, but ultimately, the pen is in your hands. So, the next time you feel uncertain or even lost, I want you to pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what archetype is calling to me right now? What wisdom does it offer? Because in that question lies your power. In that question lies your opportunity to choose courage over fear, connection over isolation, and growth over stagnation. You are capable of more than you realize. You are stronger than you think. And you are worthy of a life filled with meaning, authenticity, and joy. All you have to do is take the first step, and then the next, and the next. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Jungian archetypes. My hope is that these insights inspire you to embrace your inner world, honor your uniqueness, and live a life of courage and purpose. Remember, the road may be challenging, but the destination is worth it. Now go out there and create your masterpiece. The world is waiting for the best version of you.